It won't let me screen share right now.
Hold on a minute, let me try one more thing. Whoops, no, I'm doing the wrong one. No, it's moving, yeah, here we go, here we go. Now you should be a presenter.
Okay, great. You just want the
There we go.
agenda.
Up. Good morning.
Yeah, I'm
Hi,
here.
Frank. Oh, it doesn't like the PIN number? Hey, hold on a second. Christy, Frank's
Yeah.
trying to get in and it doesn't like the PIN number.
Really? Okay, let's see here.
Hold on just a minute, Frank.
So it doesn't like the access code?
Yeah.
344-818-781.
Did you hear that, Frank?
No.
344. Christy,
818
818
781.
781.
344-818-781.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
All right. So Frank's going to try and get in now with the correct access code. Oh, there's the agenda.
I'm trying to do this on my little laptop, and I got to tell you,
I do it from my laptop all the time. It works
it
great.
don't take me there, huh?
It works great. I've done it from my laptop a bunch of times. Huh? We'll work on it, Jim, and make sure, because this is a good tool to have.
I see the access code, though.
You see that? Well, so all you need to do should be able to click on that, and that should connect you. Click on the URL and then enter in the access code, and that should get you in.
It just takes me to globalgotomeeting.com, public error.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, if you want to, you can go out to, if you want to watch us, Jim, you can go out to YouTube, Google Lincoln County, Oregon, and there's a live stream of this meeting.
Well, actually, Christy sent
the link, yeah.
The link for the YouTube, so I could go there, but the GoToMeeting doesn't work at all.
All right, we'll work on that later. You're participating this way. We'll just have to.
I'll do it by phone.
Okay, that's great. That'll work. And Frank's still having problems getting in. Let's give him another minute or two. And just so that I know, I see Todd and Heather. Can you guys hear us okay?
I can hear you.
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. That's great. You guys are coming in loud and clear.
Do you see Amy?
I see Amy.
Okay, good.
I see Amy, I see Wayne, and I see a bunch of blank.
We got Jack on here, Todd, Heather, Claire, and Amy, Wayne. Waiting on Frank.
Well, I can tell you one thing, after experiencing this on numerous occasions in a variety of settings and different meetings, I can guarantee you, we're not gonna have a virtual fair this year because it won't work.
No.
I have to tell the story of, the commissioners, we were looking at using, Zoom is the other technology that's the ones for, well, there's actually 3 or 4 of them out there, but it's fairly popular. And our counterparts in Lane County set up a whole meeting where they actually were going to provide access to the public on Zoom. And apparently, as soon as you clicked on their link, it took you to a porn site.
Oh my goodness.
So
Oh, no.
that apparently made some national news. Hold on a second. Hello.
Yeah, no, Wayne, I guess. Let me interrupt you here, Wayne.
Okay. Do you want to participate on the phone, or you just want to have me give
I
you
called
an
you up
update?
on the YouTube site, but the problem is there's a
I'll do
lag.
that. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Frank. Bye.
You still there?
Yeah, hold on. Frank is having lots of troubles connecting. So what he said he'd like to do is, since we're not gonna, unless we're gonna be taking a formal action on something today, in which case I'll call him back and we'll get him on the line. He wants to just have an update, as I think we all are really, the primary purpose of this meeting is to get an update on the fair and discuss, what I think a lot of fair boards are doing right now is a discussion of this summer's event and what's happening out here. So let me, if you guys don't mind, let me sort of act as the moderator here. I'll do a little discussion and then I'll turn it over to Todd and to Heather, and then we'll come back and have the fair board members ask any questions and have further discussion. So let me tell you a couple things that I have heard out there. And this is sort of on a more statewide level. I have not heard, and I'll ask Todd and Heather to comment, I have not heard at this point of any fair canceling their event at this juncture. I do know some other events that are similar to this in terms of large scale events that are going on have canceled. So for instance, the first thing I heard this morning when I was up listening to the news is that the Shakespeare Festival in Ashland, which is one of their premier events, and of course it's multiple venues and multiple programs, they are canceling their entire program for the summer at this point. And they're looking to do a limited run in September if things work out. We do know that the governor at this point has, on the restaurant issue, has basically extended what had been the prohibition against dining together. I had hoped and thought it was going to be for a delimited period of time, a specific period of time. Right now, it's indefinite. So we don't know what the end date of that is, which is important to us, of course, because food is a key part of our event and what we're doing here. I do know that in my world, the county council world, we talk about a lot of different things out there. What's been hot on the wire real recently has been a number of councils saying, hey, what kinds of contracts do you have for various vendors coming to the fair? And what they're all talking about was what kinds of cancellation clauses do you have? Because they're concerned, they're twofold. One is that they want to make sure that the vendors are going to be around, they can continue to be around, but they're also concerned that they may be forking out a great deal of money and then canceling the event. So they're all, that seems to be a big discussion topic with a number of county councils. So,
can I interrupt you for half a second here?
Sure.
Don't they all have force majeure clauses in them, or what?
I don't know.
That apply?
I don't know. It's, again, I think everybody was talking about those things, and that's part of what everybody was saying. Hey, what are you doing with this, or where are you going with it? And I think a lot of them, the biggest problem is the unknown, and that's obviously the thing that we've got too, is that there is no clear. It's so muddied in terms of when this is going to end and when things can start back up again, that everybody's just struggling with that right now. It's a common thing. So Jim, I'm going to turn it over to Todd right now, and let's get an update from Todd on where we're at now.
Yeah, thanks, guys. And yes, all of those have been topics. On our end, we really usually only have a couple of big contracts that would be a little scary to enter into. One of course being the rodeo.
Yeah.
The other of which being whatever headliner music we do. the little food vendors, we just take a deposit and do a quickie agreement, and you know, every year we have a few that or maybe one or two that don't show up. So that's just par for the course for us. I think the bigger question, rather than how to work the contracts, for us in our kind of small scale event compared to the other fairs around the state, is really just that unknown that Wayne was talking about. How do we do the planning if we don't even know when and if we're going to be back at business as usual? And we just had the same discussion regarding our state shooting sports competition, which is in June. And that was predicated on a discussion about our national shooting sports competition, which is later in June, that was canceled in Grand Island, Nebraska, a national event. And I guess in my mind, what it really comes down to is by the end of the month, by April 30, when in theory schools are maybe back in session, if it appears as though we're getting back to business as usual, I think we can still do the event. If we get to April 30 and it's still unknown, I think we got to pull the plug. And I think in my mind, it's just that simple. It doesn't matter about contracts, doesn't matter about who can come, who can't. If by May 1st we don't feel like things are progressing in a steadily improving direction, I just don't think we've got the time to pull it together, even if, you know, May 15th or May 30th it feels that way. I think we got to just sort of set a date, and I'm using that April 30th, May 1 date just because that's, you know, when the schools originally thought they'd be back in session. And my hope is that we'll know something by then. I think we pick a date. I think we say this is the drop dead date. If we can't be reasonably certain that the world is going to be back to business as usual, we pull the plug.
Well, on that note, Todd, I do have some information. Actually, the governor did extend now. They're out of school for the rest of the year. They're not going back to school. Yeah, they're out just yesterday. So so we have no school this year. And I don't know how that impacts your 4-H folks and what they're doing.
Well, what it will really mean is that 4-H will follow suit and say 4-H is done for the year. And, you know, we're doing virtual meetings. Kids are still doing their projects, but that may, in fact, you know, since County Fair is a 4-H event, it may be that 4-H says, you know, what they've done right now at this point at the state level is said no more face-to-face group meetings. So club sessions are effectively canceled. We can still meet virtually. Kids are still working on their projects. But if indeed, okay, here's another unknown. Will that, because school normally isn't in session in the summer, will 4-H feel like, okay, starting June 10th, we can start meeting face-to-face again or not? If they say not, if they say for the balance of the 4-H year, which ends September 30th, then obviously we don't have 4-H kids at the fair because that is a group setting.
Can I weigh in here?
Sure, Jim.
I've thought about this because somebody asked me the question the other day. I really don't think that there's a whole lot to discuss here. I think that we're just going to need to cancel. There's a whole lot of reasons for that, and some of which you've discussed. And really what it all boils down to is all of the great unknowns. We don't know how long it's going to go on. We don't know whether we're going to be, you know, lagging behind in a hot spot at that time, or maybe it's going to be cool here and hot someplace else, but we're going to have a mass gathering. We're not going to have any control over the people who attend or where they come from. All of these other issues, the food issues, and so forth, there are just way too many possible landmines, if you will, out there. And I know July may seem like a long ways away, but it really isn't. The only way, and I think the chances are 0 to none, that I would suggest that we even thought about going ahead would be if they had a mass vaccine out there, and we know that's not going to happen. I mean, I'm retired. I got nothing to do but sit around here and watch this stuff on the news. And I think we just ought to make the decision right now. Fair's off for this summer. I mean, everything else I know of is off for this summer, at least through this summer. I think we ought to just cancel it right now and start notifying people and be done with it. I don't want to get close to the fair and then be scrambling to either try and get it on or to cancel it at the last moment. Let's just do it now, call it a day, and, you know, we'll worry about next year.
Jim, I agree with everything you're saying, including the fact that probably a lot of the benchmarks that I'm looking at to make that decision are probably leaning away from us rather than in our direction. And I wouldn't have any heartburn canceling it right now. I would just simply make the observation that there's no reason to rush into canceling it if we think we've still got time to pull it off. And that's where I was looking at that April 30th date. I guess part of me doesn't want to be the first county in the state to cancel our fair,
yeah.
and part of me still wants to do it if I guess the one thing that I look at is that the news coming out of New York and some other places say we maybe are turning the corner, and then in the next 2 weeks we may have a very, very different climate or perception of what's going on, and I just don't see a reason to do it now when if 2 weeks from now everything comes back and we feel like we have time to do it, we still could pull it off. That would be my only 2 cents.
Well, first of all, New York, they're thinking that they may have hit the apex and sliding down, but because that's happening in the New York area, doesn't necessarily that's going to be true, say, here or Iowa or Texas or any place else. It appears from what I've been able to see that a lot of these locations are on their own kind of glide slope, if you will, up and down, depending upon when they really kind of started. New York's been leading, but I don't think that there's any rational reason to believe that we can make our projection based upon what's happening in New York, not from everything I'm hearing.
No, I'm not suggesting that we do that, but I'm suggesting that if that is indeed a trend that over the next 2 weeks starts happening nationally, or we see that does become a national trend, I think we do still have time to pull this off. Again, I don't. If you guys want to pull the plug, I'm standing right there with you. I'm not. There's no hard feelings, no sour grapes. My gut feels like it's a few weeks premature at this point to do it, and there's nothing that hurts us waiting a few weeks before we actually make the call.
What is the story on the state fair?
No, we've heard nothing at all. Really, most of the fair conversation has been around use of fair facilities as emergency preparedness. Nobody at this point is to my knowledge or that I've seen, and I think those emails would be crazy the minute somebody cancels. Nobody at this point that I've seen has canceled. Heather, have you seen anything different along that front?
I haven't seen anybody canceling at this point either.
Yeah, nobody wants to go first and admit that we got a problem.
Well, can I suggest that what Todd has given us is an option here, and I think we all see, Jim, what you're saying in terms of where it's going and what's likely to happen here. But if we can wait until April 30th, I can schedule a special meeting on April 30th. And it's for a simple vote of up or down, this thing's going or not going on April 30th, based on the information we have on that date. And, you know, we can do a 10-minute meeting, and that's all we really need to do.
Okay, I can go till April 30th. You know, I would just do it right now, that if you want to go to April 30th, that's fine. To me, canceling it, you know, kind of my last shot here on this. To me, canceling it is the safest play at this particular point in time, given the vast variety of unknowns and the potential problems. You know, should we make a mistake?
Wait, guys.
I can wait till the 30th.
Hey, wait, everybody. You're talking over each other. You're all talking over each other. Jim was saying that he's fine with waiting until April 30th. Claire, what's your?
I was gonna say, I don't have real strong feelings on this, but if, you know, and if I had to lay down a cash bet today, I think the decision would be to cancel, but, you know, if Todd thinks we've got plenty lead by waiting until the end of the month, I'm willing to wait till the end of the month.
Now, Todd, let Todd talk. Todd, you were saying something about your availability on the 30th?
Yeah, that wasn't me talking about availability on the 30th. I was just saying that I can side with the group. I'm more comfortable with the 30th, but if the group decides they want to pull the plug now, I can support that as well.
Okay, anybody else want to weigh in on this?
What day of the week is the 30th?
It's a Thursday kind of thing.
Well, I can wait.
Todd, let Todd, go ahead, Todd.
Yeah, I might suggest that maybe we don't even need to schedule that hard meeting right now. We'll just keep our ear to the news, and it may be that something transpires between now and then that we need to call the special meeting and go ahead and axe it. But it may be that we don't need to even wait till the 30th.
That's true.
If something so catastrophic happens that, you know, if we see things ramping back up and getting bad again, we might want to just call that special meeting when it's appropriate rather than waiting till the 30th.
And we can circle back to everybody and make sure everybody's available for that.
Well, Wayne, just open meetings law and that kind of stuff, wouldn't we actually be better off to just go and say, okay, we're going to continue this meeting until 10 a.m. on Thursday, April 30th, and keep ourselves more in order on the legalities of the open meeting law as opposed to trying to hold an emergency meeting?
No, we don't need to. Here's the deal. We can schedule this as a special meeting. That's easy enough to do with the notice. We don't need to continue this particular meeting. It's easier to do that. And besides, the technology is changing a lot too. We may have a different format for the meeting. You know, so between now and then. So what I would suggest is we'll tentatively schedule April 30th as the last time in which we'll get together to discuss this. If, as Todd said, something comes up between now and then, basically with appropriate notice, we can schedule a special meeting to consider whether or not to have the fair at any time between now and then. So we'll monitor the situation. I'll be in contact with Todd, you know, see what's coming up, and with any of the fair board members, and we can call me at any time, you know, about anything. And if we need to meet sooner than that, we will. If not, we'll meet on the 30th.
All right, I'm good with, but I think we have to have a meeting the 30th and a go, no-go decision at that particular point.
That's the latest we'll do that.
I think we have to meet the 30th and do a go, no-go vote.
And we will do that unless we meet sooner than that. That's exactly what will happen.
I mean, let's not forget that if April 30th, I mean, that's really only 8 weeks from the fair. And again, that may sound like a long time, but that is not given this thing.
No. Well, Todd, the one thing I would suggest is make sure if that date's okay, that you're in contact, especially with the rodeo folks, you know, in terms of, if that's okay with them, if we wait until that time to make a decision.
Yeah, and I'll check with, I'll make sure that all of that works, and we'll also reach out to our vendors and just let them know, hey, we're still planning to do it, but we're gonna make that decision by April 30th, just to let you all know. So, yeah, we'll do the legwork on the front end there to be sure that everybody knows. And you know, again, we've survived without a rodeo for decades.
Yeah.
Even if we pull just something, a smaller community, you know, say goodbye to COVID-19 party, with some music and a couple of vendors, something that we can call a county fair, and we don't have to say that we've been 105 years with a gap of a year in between.
Yeah, I hear you.
Better.
And maybe we do a virtual fair, and maybe Todd's you standing out there and we all call into you. I don't know.
Hey, Wayne, I have one more technical question.
Shoot, Jim.
Any word or discussion from the state about eligibility for lottery funds for fair and so forth? I mean, if we cancel fair because of COVID-19, is that somehow going to impact our ability to get the state money?
That is something that I'm sure it's not going to impact it, given what I understand, and especially if what we do is any monies that we don't spend this year, we carry over and use the next year. But we will verify that. That's a good question. To do that, I guess that what got lost in the shuffle is that, you know, there was a request to actually provide more funding this year, and you know, you guys had done a letter in support of that, and frankly, in the context of everything that was happening here, and the fact that I don't know where that actually ended up in terms of what the legislature did this last session. I don't know, Todd, did you get any information on that?
No, we haven't had any information either. I think it got lost in the shuffle when the legislative session shut down early without taking action. I think I don't think we know anything on that front.
But we'll verify that, Jim, and if there's anything that changes from what my understanding right now is, this is not going to have an impact on us. If it does, I will let you know as soon as I find out any different information.
Yeah, well, I'd hate to go and you know, maybe they're going to say something just off the wall. Maybe they're going to say something about you can't make your decision prior to May 1st and still be eligible for the money, or some goofy thing like that. You never know.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll check into that. We'll make sure. That's a good question. Well, I think I think we've done what we can do today on this virtual meeting, unless there's anything Jack wants to add from a staff, or Amy from the staff side.
So I have just a couple of things. We started we did the walkthrough with Stantec for the phase 1 ESA.
Great.
And they had a couple of questions, which this is the first portion of that. We have to get this questionnaire done. And I'm hoping one of you on this call can answer just 3 historical questions that I don't know. If there was ever oil heat on the grounds that we know of.
Ever what?
Oil, any kind of oil heat on the grounds.
Anywhere on the grounds?
Anywhere on the grounds.
Anywhere on the grounds.
To my knowledge, no.
Okay.
Jim, hold on, Amy. Let's see, it's Jim, because Jim's.
I'm thinking, give me just a minute here. Are they asking specifically about oil heat, or are they just asking, did we ever have petroleum or petroleum storage on the ground?
I think it's more of that. It's more of, was there any underground storage, or was there even above ground storage?
Well, they specifically asked, did we ever have oil heat on the ground?
Okay.
That was one of the specific questions.
Okay.
All right, I'm not aware of any time that we ever had oil heat, and I'm specifying here oil heat. I'm still thinking about the more general question about, did we ever have petroleum on the grounds anyplace? That's another question.
Well, think about that, Jim, and if you recollect anything, let us know, please.
Yeah, just shoot me an email.
Yeah, shoot it to
The other
Amy.
question they had was that there was a concrete pad on the northern part of the grounds. And do we know what sat on that concrete pad? They said it looks like a tank sat there at some point.
They're saying there's an existing concrete pad that's sitting on the northerly end of the grounds, and they want to know what's out on the pad.
Yes, they said it looked like a tank sat there, and so they wanted to know if that was the case.
That's a historical photo, Amy, that they looked at. Yeah. So it's not currently out there, Jim. It's something in the past.
I was going to say, I don't know of any concrete pad that's anywhere out there on the north ends now.
Maybe we need to see the photo that they're looking at that shows it, Jack.
I'll email it to you. And
Okay.
then the last question was, do we know when the initial development on the grounds was, when we first started building, what year?
I can't hear Amy well.
I'm
What
sorry.
did she say?
When was the initial construction on the grounds? Do you know what year?
Well, I can tell you that the initial construction on the grounds was about 1960.
That's all we need.
Okay.
That's all they needed.
I mean,
And then the last thing I have,
That's okay, Jim. That's good. That's perfect.
well, I mean, my rationale here is that some of the original drawings that we had that showed the original topog and some of the original buildings and so forth, and Jack may have some of those drawings available or know where they are, but those drawings were kind of when they started development of that site, and my recollection is that those drawings are dated around 1960. But if Jack can lay his hands on some of those drawings, or John or Roy, you may be able to get a little better date than that.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
But she asked another question prior to that, and I missed it. What was it?
No, that was the question.
Okay.
the last thing I had is, Focus is officially moved out. We've gotten their last rent check. Emily is wanting Jack and I to do a walkthrough in the building. And there's fixtures there that she's not sure if they belong to Focus or if they belong to the county. Now, Jack, I don't know that I would recall what fixtures were there before they were. Would you have any idea?
There were some items that were left over from the fair running yard sale that they had. There were some clothing racks, there were bookshelves, but none of it is, in my opinion, worth storing.
Does anyone have any objections to just telling them to take those things and we kind of start from scratch in that building, or?
Claire? Jim?
I'm fine with whatever, let's let them take them if that's the desire.
Okay,
This is,
all right, well,
this is Jim. I'm
that's it
fine with it.
for me then.
All right, Amy, Jim's saying he's fine with it too.
Okay, all right, thank you guys.
Jack, anything else?
No, I did have one question about our, the fairgrounds is listed as one of our emergency standby areas, and is this something we're gonna maintain while we discuss having the fair? Because as soon as we decide to have a fair, we have to take that off of the list of properties that we would use if we had to put together a ad hoc hospital or, something to that effect for Red Cross.
Well, no, again, Jack, that's on the list as part of the planning efforts. That it always has been in terms of, and so what we'll do is we'd have to, if it actually gets utilized, then we'd have to have further discussion on what we're doing for the fair.
Okay. Other than that, no, I don't have anything.
I would keep it on the list and, until you're specific, you know, we make some kind of specific decision that requires you to take it off.
Right.
I think the safe play is you keep it on the list.
Okay. Todd or Heather, anything else from you?
I think that's all I have, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a tough place to be with all the unknowns, but I suspect by the end of the month, we'll have clarity,
Hopefully.
or more clarity maybe.
Yeah. Heather, anything else from you?
I don't have much. I haven't been to the office, so if any vendor apps or anything like that have been coming in, I am unaware. So at this point, I do not have anything.
Well, it's virtually nice to see you.
Likewise, all. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And now, Jim, I'm going to call you later on and we'll work on getting you connected up with GoToMeeting for other purposes. All right?
Yeah, as soon as this whole conference call thing is over, would you do me a favor and give me a quick call at the house? I'm going to be doing some work out of the house and everything really right away, and I won't be around. But just get it, as soon as we all hang up from this,
Okay.
just give me a quick call at the house.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
All right.
Thanks, Clay.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. We've ended the meeting. Jim, I'll call you back in just a minute.